Persona is one of my favorite video game franchises ever. There's really nothing else like it. And while each of its entries are very different from one another, they share a similar core which undeniably makes them similar to each other. Each game is so consistently good, I can truly understand why any one of these could be your favorite. However, buried within that consistency is a potential to do so much more and truly take the series to new heights. So I thought I'd come up with 5 cool concepts for Persona 6 to do. If you like this, we can always do 5 more sometime too. And if you have your own 5 thought up already, leave them below so I can have something to read while I eat food and stare at my computer monitor later. This one's gonna rustle some feathers, but create a character in Persona, or custom character, is something I feel could be super easy to implement in Persona. I can off the top of my head think of multiple big JRPG series that have an entry where the protagonist is a custom character, and was still well received and lucrative for the company. Dragon Quest IX, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV, Phantasy Star Online 2, just to name a few. One thing all these games do is market, which Persona is no exception for. It's easier to market a character that everyone knows when they only look one way. If Joker didn't look like how he does in the game, and anyone who played it could make him look anything or identify as anyone, that makes the game significantly harder to market, and to some may detract from that attachment we're used to gaining for a Persona protagonist. However, again, like all those I mentioned already, they're all games that were still marketed and still enjoyed by millions of players who all feel immense connections to their characters. So off rip, when it comes to marketing, just use a default preset. That's what literally all these games do. Using that default company created face that can be the face of the game, but your copy is personal because that character embodies you. This is why I feel implementing a created character is such a big opportunity for Atlus. Many over the years have felt a disconnect as they can't relate with the protagonists of these games. Think of it like this. I was discussing this topic with some friends and asking some of you guys in our Discord server. And you know how the whole concept of silent protagonists are so that a player can paint themselves over this character? The developers do that so the protag can be as quirky or non-quirky as you want them to be in your own head, as you're the one behind the wheel. But how do you expect tons of players to be able to identify with or embody these characters if they can't romance anyone they prefer, when they can't identify as their true selves? During my investigation on this topic, when I was asking you all, some of my female viewers told me they hate not being able to play as a girl, as the game kinda expects them to just get viewing this work through the eyes and perspective as a guy. But because they're a woman playing as a guy in the game, they don't get the same scenarios they would if the protagonist was a girl. Some situations like the typical beach scene or school trips would be drastically different if they were able to be playing as a girl. Say being a guy on the trip would have them waiting to meet up with the girls and then ogling them when they arrive. However, if you played as a girl, you could be with the girls and see that scene from their perspective, maybe even be worrying about being ogled when you get there. Things like that can apply to tons of situations, not just in those funny moments, they can apply to the serious or even more casual moments too. I'd love to see whole different scenes and points of view by playing through those different kinds of campaigns. Yeah, that adds a ton of more work, but I know it's something that I know Atlus is capable of doing. You can't tell me that Atlus can't do something like this. Now for number 2, I'd love to see a locale outside of Japan. Though the series roots will always be Japan, I'm honestly intrigued by the idea of what a non-Japanese Persona cast would be like. And no, we don't talk about Revelations. Throughout the series, we've mainly only had our main cast be Japanese and attend Japanese schools. And while I am a certified weeaboo who does enjoy the Japanese setting for these games, I'd love to see just one game where we play through the eyes of, say, a European Persona user or an African Persona user, heck, maybe even American. These different countries and continents all contain many different types of people. Within these large lands, many individual customs and cultures exist, and within those individual lifestyles, we get a very different social setting for the series that I feel would be a breath of fresh air. Heck, maybe even make it a world adventure game where this student travels the world and each of the party members are from different countries. So getting to know them and their cultures and their stories are super involved with the plot and social links with these characters. Persona users across the world gathering together where in the end they take a stand to oppose a being threatening their world. The united feeling of that kind of adventure would feel so powerful by the end in my eyes, mainly because our cast is from all over the world. It really feels like the world has united to take a stand against its opposition. I eat those kind of stories up, dude. Number 3, abolish turn-based gameplay. And I don't mean altogether. I'd like to see more ATB aspects of it attempted. In Persona, when the battle begins, a member of the party will go first, and there's numerous factors that can be in place that decides who that is. But regardless, during the battle, you can only attack with whoever's turn it currently is. I feel like though tons of games do this, it's a remnant of archaic design choices of the past that limit the freedom of approach in turn-based battles. Speed stats already matter, so if it's tweaked to where I can select whoever I want to attack first, instead of having to go in a specific order, that'd be insane. In the Chrono games, those being also turn-based games, there are strategies that I can only pull off in those games because the game doesn't force me to go in a specific order when commanding each of my party members. When it's my turn to fight, I can choose between any of my party members to attack, and only because I do this, I can dedicate specific members to specific roles during battle and swap that role between everyone whenever I want. Whereas in Persona, I'd have to attack, defend, or etc. as the protagonist. I'd like it to be like those Chrono games where I can choose to do nothing, so my protagonist can wait for another party member to be ready so I can specifically do a more powerful special attack with these two people. This just being one example of Persona being able to integrate this well. It doesn't have to be note for note, but seeing Persona create a new way to add even more strategy and creativity to battles is exactly what I feel the next game after Persona 5 needs. Just to clarify though, I'm adding this in post. When I said choosing to do nothing, I don't mean just giving up my turn. I mean literally sitting at the battle menu for a couple seconds so my party member's ATB gauge fills up. That way when I choose to attack now, I'll have more options to choose from, those being some potential new collaborative attacks that require both characters' turns to be used at the same time. Number 4, with the way social links work in Persona, I've always loved that as the character grows in the story, doing those social links along the way makes it feel the payoff from our time together during those events have aided in the growth of this character. But if I'm honest, for the future, I'd like the game to acknowledge you've done those social links in the story, more accurately in the way that events from them are brought up. Now, this is going to be difficult, but I think the easiest way to implement this will be to where the game goes by if the social link has been done first and foremost, and when you get to certain parts of the story, if you've done or started this person's social link, the events of the social link are referenced. They don't need to dictate the scene or anything like that. It can just be done in a more brief way, like, hey man, thanks again for helping me with insert thing here. Things have been going well since I took your advice, so I wanted to let you know I appreciate it. Or even something smaller happens, and say, for example, something stupid happens in the story, and if you've done or started their social link while we're laughing at what happened, that person says while laughing, if you remember what happened that one time, this referencing the social link, and then they laugh even harder because it's funnier because of it. Little things like that add so much more weight to those interactions and strengthen the desire to do as many of them as you can. Number 5, I'd like a story that's more epic in science fiction than ever before. Persona is known to do well at balancing its more realistic slice of life moments with their very obvious science fiction moments. So if we were able to go even further with the science fiction moments, like to where instead of an alternate world, we go to an alternate dimension or parallel world, or maybe even to the far future, it would be so freaking cool. Obviously though, in such a disconnected way, we need to have their world be threatened despite venturing to a different one. Regardless of any of those kinds of places I mentioned, it needs to have a connection to our world that isn't quite clear at first, but is discovered over the course of the story. Going to different planets or times or dimensions has so much potential for what or who we can see, what the new cast will be capable of doing because of it. I could go on and on about something like this, but I think everyone should get the picture. But with that, those are just 5 concepts I'd like to see in Persona 6. With the game in development and not much known about it yet, the possibilities for its potential are limitless. So because of that, if you'd like 5 more concepts I'd like to see in Persona 6, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed this video, letting me know alongside your own desires for Persona 6 down in the comments would also be pretty dope. Thanks for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember my words of courage to stay strong, stay beautiful, and always look skyward.